Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our 7-star raid build videos. A little bit ago, Pokemon Company announced that the next 7-star raid is coming. It is the Terra Ground Garchomp. I'm pretty excited for this. Metagross is probably my favorite pseudo-legendary, but Garchomp is a pretty close second, if I'm being honest. He's very powerful Pokemon, very cool design. Ground Dragon, very interesting type. Prefer Flygon a little more, but unfortunately, Garchomp is very strong compared to Flygon, so that's why he's the 7-star raid boss. Um, Now that we're done showing how jealous I am that Garchomp is better than Flygon, let's get into actually talking about the Pokemon. Garchomp, of course, as I just stated, is a Dragon and Ground Pokemon. It's going to be Terra Ground for this raid event, which means it's going to be weak to Grass, Ice, and Water, all of which actually perform moderately well against this Pokemon. Um, some of them better than others. Like Water is weak to Garchomp's potential Thunder Fang, Grass is weak to Garchomp's potential Poison Jab, and Ice is weak to Iron Head and Brick Break. So they all have some kind of weakness. But I'd be a little surprised if this Garchomp runs something like Thunder Fang. It just feels like kind of a niche pull for them to put on this Pokemon. So a lot of my builds kind of focus around that. And even some of them, even if it does, they'll be fine. So I'm not super worried. I think this is honestly going to be a way easier raid to counter than the Metagross that we just faced. I hope you guys performed well there, by the way. Bit of a difficult raid, but I was able to pull through. I'm sure you guys were too. But this Garchomp, of course, has a great set of coverage options. Garchomp is a very, very powerful Pokemon. It can hit a lot of types super effectively or neutral. Earthquake and Dragon Claw, I feel like, are mainstays on this Pokemon. I could see them replacing Dragon Claw with Dragon Rush down there at the end. I don't think it's the Garchomp's signature move per se, but I've seen a lot of Garchomps use it, so I would consider it one of his signature moves, if that makes sense. Obviously, Dragon Rush is a little bit lower accuracy than Dragon Claw, which would be the only reason I could see them potentially switching it out. Iron Head, Brick Break, Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Poison Jab are all insane coverage options that this Pokemon gets. When I was looking through his little learn set, I was kind of blown away by how many types those moves hit. I've used plenty of Garchomps competitively or just in my playthroughs of different Pokemon games, and I was kind of shocked because most time you just run like Earthquake, Dragon Claw, and that's all you really need. But yeah, you learned a lot of things. Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Poison Jab really caught me off guard as well. Dragon Dance, of course, is a move this Pokemon used to set up in front of you. It can be similar to the Metagross too, where it looks like it only uses it once, but you check and its stats are maxed out, so you got to keep that in mind. Outrage and Dragon Rush, like I mentioned, are other moves I could see this Pokemon running. I don't really see it running Dragon Rush and Dragon Claw, but I could see it throwing Outrage on there as just kind of like a fun, now I'm going to do a whole lot more damage type of move. I've noticed they do that every now and then. Of course, Garchomp has two abilities, Sand Veil, which I'm almost certain it's not going to have, and Rough Skin, which is Garchomp's signature ability. It's going to have Rough Skin, I'm telling you that right now. Of course, this Pokemon is going to be in Terra Raids twice, from May 23rd to May 25th, and May 30th to June 1st. So keep that in mind while you're building these Pokemon. If you don't have the time to do the first one, could be useful to see what moves it has once it releases. Build one of these sets that's specifically tuned to fight whatever it had, and go for it for the second weekend. That being said, let's actually get into our builds. Our first one here, Roton Wash. Roton Wash, of course, the raid build staple, it feels like. Roton Wash is an electric and water type Pokemon, and you're going to be the Terra type of water. Roton Wash can be holding the leftovers held item, so it can heal a little bit after each turn, just in case it takes a little bit of extra damage in that Garchomp. After a couple turns, that healing will really build up, and it'll mean this Pokemon can live a hit or two, which will be very, very nice, because, Roton Wash has pretty decent defensive stats, but it doesn't necessarily resist dragon type moves, but it does not get hit by ground type moves, as you can see with its ability here. Levitate is the only ability this Pokemon can have. So yeah, this Pokemon's not going to be getting hit by those earthquakes. Rain Dance and Hydro Pump are going to be this Pokemon's main way of doing damage, but it is worth mentioning that this is not really a damage build. This Rotom Wash is going to be for support. It's kind of be for helping your team, as you can see with the Helping Hand there and the Will-O-Wisp. This Garchomp doesn't have a Terra Shield up. You'll be able to use that Will-O-Wisp and really hurt Garchomp's damage output by hurting its physical defense, or physical offense, I should say, quite a bit. Garchomp does have a decent special attack stat, but it's definitely not as high or as useful as its physical stat, so I don't really think they're going to run mixed. I'm pretty sure they're going to go full physical, and Will-O-Wisp will really help you there if you can pull it off. Again, Levitate's this Pokemon's only ability. I'd recommend, honestly, leading the battle. If you notice you have a lot of water types, press that Rain Dance button. Just make it so you're dealing more damage. Then I'd try to go for a Will-O-Wisp if you can. Honestly, I'd probably lead with a Will-O-Wisp if you can, and then Rain Dance. But that's up to personal preference. You might not even need to Rain Dance if you notice that no one on your team is really running any water type counters. And then from that point, go for some Helping Hands. If you need the extra damage, go for a Hydro Pump, like if you notice no one's really doing damage. But that Helping Hand is going to help you a lot more than a Hydro Pump even in the rain, especially if you have some water type allies, so keep that in mind. When it comes to this Pokemon's EVs, you're going to max out its HP, max out its defense, and put the last 4 points in the special attack just so your Hydro Pumps do slightly more. When it comes to its IVs, I'm just now remembering, I don't think I checked these Pokemon's IVs, but I think they should all be good because these are all previously used builds that I kind of just respect. But I've maxed out everything except its attack stats. Attack stat doesn't matter, you're not using it, so it shouldn't really matter that much. Terra Water, I don't know if I mentioned that. Terra Water, so that when you can get to that Hydro Pump Terra, you'll start throwing out some pretty powerful Hydro Pumps in the rain. And I would recommend using a power point up on its Hydro Pump, by the way. 5 is not really enough. Once you get a Terra, you'll already be down to 2, and that's assuming Garchomp doesn't steal any of your Terra Darts. So use a couple of power point ups, use a power point max to get it to 8, and then it'll be a little bit better, but realistically, you should be relying on the helping hands anyway. Moving on to our next build. We've got another Pokemon that's pretty reoccurring. We've got Clefairy here. Clefairy, of course, is a Fairy-type Pokemon, meaning it won't take any damage from those Dragon-type moves, which is super useful. You're going to give it the Terra-type of Water and the Eviolite Held item, which boosts its defense substantially. When we get to its set, you'll see here that this is another support option. This Pokemon is entirely support-focused. You've got Life Dew and Reflect. That way you can keep your team alive by either reducing the damage they're taking with Reflect or healing them up if they've already taken a little bit with Life Dew. This Pokemon's going to use Chilling Water to hurt Garchomp's physical attack stat every time you land a Chilling Water. Not only will it be super effective in this raid, which is pretty cool, but it'll make it so Garchomp's attack lowers by a stage. And then, if you notice that Garchomp's already at -6, start pressing some Helping Hands. It'll really help your damage output by making sure you use that on Pokemon that are hitting offensively as opposed to just spamming Chilling Waters, because you'll not be doing a whole lot of damage with that, and if Garchomp is already at -6, it's kind of worthless. Friend Guard is why we chose this Pokemon. Reducing damage dealt to allies. I believe you take all your allies take 3/4 of the damage they would normally if a Clefairy is on the field, which is an insane buff. Like, that is super useful, and that's why we've got this Pokemon as opposed to, say, a Clefable. Add the Eviolite, which definitely helps a bit too. When it comes to its EVs, same situation here. You want to max out HP, max out defense, and put the last little bit in special attack, just so your Chilling Water does like an extra point of damage. It really doesn't matter what you do with that little bit, but might as well put in a special attack. When it comes to its IVs, everything matters except this Pokemon's attack stat. And again, Friend Guard is its very important feature. You want to run that as its ability. I'm just now actually remembering, I think I forgot to mention the nature for the Rotom as well, so I'll go back and do that in a sec. But this Clefairy is going to be bold, and I actually believe, yeah, the Rotom is going to be the same nature. It's going to also be bold, which is plus defense and minus attack for both Rotom and Clefairy. Moving on to our next Pokemon, another bit of a defensive build. We've got Slowb Bro here. That cry was really loud. I don't know if I was just imagining that. Slowb Bro, of course, is a water and psychic type Pokemon with the Terra type of water, and we're going to give it the leftovers held item. When it comes to this Pokemon's moves, you're going to see why we're going to use it pretty quick here. This Pokemon is great at taking hits. Look at that defense, 350 defense. That's kind of ridiculous. And with full investment in that, you won't be doing a whole lot of damage at first, but you'll be taking hits well, which will give you plenty of room to set up some nasty plots in a rain dance, and then you'll be dealing a whole lot of damage, especially with some helping hand support from your allies or something similar. This Pokemon's Chilling Water is going to be your way to build up Terra by using Chilling Water over and over again. Your Garchomp is like weaker physically, it won't be able to hit you as hard, which will help you and your team, and it charges your Terra Orb because again you're doing damage. Get to that Terra Water. If you're hopefully you'll already have a rain dance set up at that point, press a nasty plot too, maybe if you can, just so you get that +2. It's a 100% boost every time you use nasty plot, which is very, very nice. And those Hydro Pumps will start dealing some ridiculous damage pretty quick. None of this Pokemon's abilities really help a whole lot here. I guess Oblivious is your best bet. I mean, I don't think Garchomp's going to run Taunt, but in case it does, or Attract even, in case it does, Oblivious helps. None of the other abilities really do a whole lot. I believe this Pokemon's other abilities are Own Tempo, which is just it can't be confused, which is probably not going to happen, and then Regenerator, which doesn't do anything here. So Oblivious is the only one that I really could see being applicable by any means. When it comes to its EVs, you want to max out HP, max out defense, and put the last 4 points in special attack. I feel like a broken record at this point. This Pokemon's also bold, which makes it even funnier. And when it comes to IVs, once again, everything matters except this Pokemon's attack stat. Moving on to our next Pokemon here. This Pokemon, I'm going to give a shout out to one of my friends. His name is Chase. He gave me I was talking to him. I was like, hey, what should I put into these builds? You know, like I need one more slot. And he threw the idea of Mudsdale at me. And at first I was like, Mudsdale, why would you do that? I can't hit ground super effectively at all from what I understand. And then he reminded me of its ability, which we'll get to in just a sec. Mudsdale, of course, is a ground type Pokemon. You're going to be the Terra type of fighting, which is a little niche here. It's a little weird, but you'll see why in just a second with the Shell Ball hold item. Now, what makes Mudsdale so special is that ability, Stamina. Stamina is a fantastic ability. It's also an Archaludon who will not perform well here. So we're using Mudsdale instead. Mudsdale makes it so every time it's hit by an attack, its defense goes up, which means you're going to be taking less damage. But then if you look at its moves as well, you've got that body press option, which if we take a look, Body Press makes it so that instead of using your attack stat, use your defense stat. So every time Garchomp hits you, you're going to be taking less damage and dealing more damage too, which is kind of huge. You can use Iron Defense too for a little bit of a boost. We've also got Sleep Talk and Rest on here. I don't really know why. This Pokemon doesn't have a huge move pool, and those are the only two moves that I could see potentially being useful otherwise. So I was like, sure, Sleep Talk, Rest. If you need healing, if your Sleep Talks, or if your Shell Bell isn't doing enough, which realistically it should, I guess you can use that, right? I really would recommend against it, honestly. Stamina is this Pokemon's real big thing. Make sure that's its ability. When it comes to its EVs, you want to max out HP, max out defense, same type of thing, but solely because that's its offensive stat here as well. And for the last 4 points, realistically, it doesn't matter where those 4 points go. I don't think anything else matters at all, but I put him in a special defense just in case, for whatever reason, this Garchomp has some weird Dragon Pulse or something. I'm not sure. Its nature is going to be, I believe I did, yeah, Impish, which is plus defense minus special attack. And when it comes to its IVs, everything matters except its special attack stat here. Moving on to our next Pokemon, we've got Dondozo. Dondozo, of course, is a pure water-type Pokemon with these hair type of water. Give it the Shell Ball Hull item, you know how it is. Give it Liquidation as its main damage output. We've got Rest on this Pokemon too. It's the only really reliable healing option. I would, again, recommend against using that. Curse is a great way for you to start building up both defense and attack at the same time. It'll be very, very useful in this raid. And then Rain Dance again. If you've gotten to the point where you're taking hits well and you want to deal a bit of extra damage, and especially if you notice that your team has a lot of water type Pokemon, that Rain Dance will help a lot. Unaware is this Pokemon's big thing. If that Garchomp starts setting up Dragon Dances or something similar in front of you, Unaware makes it useless. You're not going to take damage from those stat boosts, which will be very, very useful. When it comes to its EVs, this one's a little bit weird. I had to give this Pokemon a little bit of extra survivability by putting a little bit into its defense, just because, Dondozo's not going to take hits super well. It's taking neutral damage from both those Dragon-type moves and those Ground-type moves. So you want to max out its HP, put 176 points into its attack stat so that those liquidations deal a lot of damage, especially after a Curse or two and a Rain Dance, and then put 80 points into defense. When it comes to its nature, you want to give it the Adamant nature, which is plus attack minus special attack, and again, Unaware as its ability is pretty important. Its IVs, everything matters except its special attack stat. Moving on to our last Pokemon here. You've seen this Pokemon plenty of times. I bet you guys know that cry by heart now. We've got a Zumemeral. Zumemeral, of course, is a water and fairy type Pokemon. You're going to be the Terra type of water and Shell Bell. And before I even go to its moves, I bet you guys know what's going to be on here. We've got Belly Drum. Belly Drum and Zumemeral is such a great Pokemon in Terra raids. Obviously, you got to be a little bit careful about how you use it because nothing is worse than pressing Belly Drum and then Garchomp hitting you and taking you out. And now, not only are you back to +0, but you took a huge chunk off of the timer, and you don't want that. So keep that in mind. Maybe go for a Chilling Water or have some good support options on your team before you press that Belly Drum. Rain Dance, of course, to boost you and your water type team. Liquidation on there as your main damage output. And I guess you've got Chilling Water, so you can do a little bit of support if you need to. That'll get you to your Terra as well, which is nice, but maybe lead with a Chilling Water if your team isn't support focused, so that Garchomp's not doing a whole lot of damage. Then maybe go for a Heal Cheer and then Belly Drum so that you get the +6, you can survive a hit, and you can start healing off the damage you're taking with the Shell Bell. Pokemon's main draw is its huge power ability. You guys know that. I don't even need to tell you that. And when it comes to its EVs, you want to put 252 points in HP, and then it's a little bit of an even split here, a little bit more into attack than defense. We've got 148 points into attack, 108 in defense, just because this Pokemon will not take hits super, super well from those ground-type moves, and especially if Garchomp has Thunder Fang. So you have to be a little careful about that. This Pokemon's going to be Adamant Nature, which is plus attack minus special attack, and getting the huge power ability. Again, that's very, very important. That's what makes this Pokemon so powerful. And when it comes to its IVs, everything matters except its special attack stat. With that being said, that's all our builds we've got here for you today. I hope you find one that, really speaks to you. I think all of these builds are pretty safe. They're pretty sound. They should all do pretty all right against the Garchomp unless it's got some really weird sets. So honestly, just pick one that you like. Pick one that you think suits your play style, and you guys should be fine. I hope to see you guys out there in those raid dens. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.